Hello and welcome to the Utropeia podcast. I am your host, Ken Chimuyo. It's just like one of your Japanese animes, and you are listening to the Utropeia podcast, the podcast where we talk about tropes. This week we are going to be talking about non-powered, I guess just individuals, probably. But to help me talk about this particular trope is Chris Moonjump!
Hey! I just got back from killing a bunch of Marines, getting interested in the moon.
Oh God.
It's true.
It's canon now.
It's canon.
It just happened.
It's Nick Cannon.
It's Nick Cannon. But someone who would never marry Mariah Carey is Bill, Mr. YuVideo!
What?
I'm sorry, did I speak too
Also,
soon?
hello. No.
Hey, if you like a bucket of crazy in the morning, Mariah Carey is right up your alley.
All right.
If you also like a bucket of chicken in the morning, Mariah Carey is also up your alley.
This is very true. In fact, that's how she started her Christmas song that's played every year. It was originally All I Want for Christmas is a bucket of fried chicken and to be married to Nick Cannon, but they had to change it in the studio. But what doesn't need to be changed?
You can only afford one of those things.
Only one of those things. So Nick Cannon it is. The best kind of cannon is the cannon that comes from Todd Ogredose.
I want my cannon filled with chicken.
Is a chicken cannon a superpower? I don't think so. We'll look at it.
I don't know. They did it on Mythbusters. Seemed effective.
But a myth that can't be busted is how awesome is Anna Cranberry.
Oh my God.
They're eating her, and then they're gonna eat me.
Oh my God.
For my introduction. Hello.
I had to go. I had to.
But yes, you are listening to the Utropeia podcast. If you haven't guessed by now, if this is your first time listening, we are silly friends.
Oh my God, it's nice to meet you.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey girl.
We should go out and get an appy.
Yeah. Some appies
Some
and
starters at
apple
Applebee's.
teenies. I'm gonna go to TGI Fridays and just drink apple teenies all night.
Oh my God. Now we're never going to have new people.
And if you haven't turned off by now, you're our true listeners. Hello, everyone. Well, this is the point in the show where we talk about what we are excited/bummed out about, because we like to catch up. And if you don't like ketchup, then there's other condiments out there, and I hope you find something. Bill, what are you excited for/bummed out about this week?
No.
No, not my beautiful son.
I was trying to think. I just woke up before we started doing this, so
You didn't wake up to the sun? The beautiful, wonderful sun?
no, not your beautiful son. Well, I think me and Todd are both excited about tomorrow
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
48-hour film project.
Yeah.
And I thought I had something else, but no.
That's something pretty big.
Yeah, that's like literally all I can think about right now. So I've been trying. I was like, there's got to be something. Spider-Man 2099 issue 1 came out today.
Holy
Heard it yesterday.
balls! Really?
I haven't gotten a chance to get it yet.
I have it, but I haven't read it. I'll bring it this weekend.
I didn't know they were restarting 2099 Spider-Mans.
Yeah, Miguel is stuck in the present time
Ah,
after Superior Spider-Man.
I just read that too. That's weird. I'm current. I feel weird about being current. But the current opinion of Todd Ogredose is what really matters when it comes down to what he's excited/bummed out about.
Like Bill said, I am extremely excited over the 48-hour film project that me and Bill will be writing a movie, a short film, and Saker, who's been on the show before,
Dimsdale?
will be doing it with us. The other thing I am very excited about, Homestar Runner's coming back.
Everybody.
It's officially coming back.
Everybody.
I listened to an interview with Matt Chapman, and he had indicated that they were strongly going to be doing stuff to bring back Homestar Runner. So I got very, very excited about that.
There was an announcement, something like the cheetah's not dead, something like that, I want to say.
Something like that.
Yeah, an announcement like that, which is really cool. I guess I have next. I am pretty excited about... Well, actually, something really cool that happened was we've been playing the Wii U, so we have been all about that Mario Kart 8. And I have found an unnatural affinity for the character Roy that you can play as. I've been doing that. I was kind of bummed out that my internet got knocked out by powerful storms on Tuesday, so we had to change our scheduling, and that's why Dimsdale couldn't be here. But, you know, I'm just glad that we got the internet back up and running, because the last time this happened, we had to wait 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks of no internet, a lot of sleeping and a lot of regret. Oh my god, you guys, I can't read. Where are my eyes? But yeah, that's...
I really wanted to see
good.
where that was going.
Chicken to China. Hey, Anna, what are you excited for
Is
/
it
bummed out
always
about?
chicken?
That's the theme. That's the joke. We do like a joke every episode. It's like you're not
We
a part.
don't make jokes.
We don't make jokes.
Nothing.
This is a podcast.
What are you thinking?
Jeez, what a great podcast. If you like poop.
I am excited.
What were you thinking?
I offer no transition. I'm excited about all the
Excitement.
sad games I've been playing. I have been playing so many sad video games.
Brothers. Hello, brother.
And then I'm watching you completely just turn around the experience of it being sad.
I'm kicking this around, but I might do a live stream because I'm playing Brothers, which is made by a Scandinavian company. And I'm just doing the brothers' voices as Toki and Squiskar from Metalocalypse.
It's Orange Brothers and Blue Brothers.
It's Blues Brothers. Why so it's always goes into the darkness? Shuts up, Orange Brothers.
It's the opposite of what the game is trying to convey.
This heartfelt, ambient, beautiful atmosphere. Just
Record it, submit it to the creators.
that guy's looks like he's dead. His scary around here. Yeah, let's go forwards.
I love you.
I love you too. What I also love
What I offer.
is the rest of your opinion. If you're done,
Oh,
Okay.
apparently that's the end.
Is it done?
True sadness, the end.
We have to edit that out. No one will ever know because it'll have been edited out, and now we're talking about it. But when Chris,
We're
I
just
guess to talk
creating
about
time paradoxes.
that Bill has to fix later.
Oh, great.
And that's canon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Again, somehow the man who fell through time is the most normal character in our group. I'm somehow not surprised.
As a moon princess, how do you feel about that?
Well, the time stream only really applies to Earth. That's what you guys don't understand. Time only works in one way, towards Earth.
I think that's canon. Actually, I'm not sure if it is.
Everything is.
That can be debated. Talk to us about it on our Utropia Facebook page. Right.
Am I supposed to be excited about something this
Yeah,
week?
you can't, or bummed out, or
Oh.
Well, actually,
you could just say nothing.
Well, you already talked about the Swedes. They're just metal. But actually, Brickworld Chicago's going on this year. That's is going on right now. It's one of the largest Lego conventions in the U.S. And they actually announced the really cool Lego exosuit,
Ooh.
which is for their that came out of their Kuso line, which is all user submitted content and things that they actually will make into limited production run sets. And the mech suit is awesome. But it also is really cool because they're going into kind of a more classic space style for it. And
yeah, they're essentially using like the minifig of Benny from Lego Movie, like the 80s
Oh,
cosmonaut sets.
fantastic.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, they're calling it the Neo-Classic Space Set. And they're actually it's part of a larger design intention to kind of bring back some of the old space stuff, which with the recent sets and things, I have full confidence will be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a really awesome mech suit for $34 coming out on August the 1st.
How much transparent orange chainsaw will we be seeing?
God, I wish they'd bring back Ice Planet.
Unfortunately, there is no transparent orange. There are giant claw hands, though.
This is good. This is good.
I mean, you could probably replace all the fingers with,
Transparent orange chainsaws. This is good.
Yeah.
Every day I do not have a transparent orange chainsaw is a very sad day. But what isn't sad is the start of our podcast, which was a pretty bad segue. Just like the segue of the inventor.
It was part of it was kind of sad.
It's kind of sad, because he died.
Especially when you say it that way.
Not to just tread on his memory.
Horrible news told in a very good way.
I really wonder if that joke's ever going to gain any traction.
I hope so. That's all I got. I'm not going to one-up
I'm
it.
sure we'll bring it up again.
This joke is really the torque of the town.
I don't know. I feel like it's gone off the edge.
Feel powerless against it. Speaking of powerless,
Nice segue!
Hey!
Just like the owner of the segues. Tragic and untimely death. Okay, so no, look, there's a lot of non-superpowered people, and they can be in a world of powered people. They can be in an actual universe. I mean, we have live, real examples of superheroes that are patrolling the streets nowadays, which is absolutely crazy. So it's not too unusual to think of a person that doesn't have any special abilities or otherworldly sort of help. Pretty much. So when I say a non-powered person, who do you guys necessarily think of? It can be a vigilante, it can be like a villain, it can be anybody. I'm going to take a guess as to who the very first person might be, but I'm going to let Todd have this one first.
I'm not gonna say the obvious.
It's right on the tip of your tongue. If no
Just
one
get it
says
out
it
of
by
the
the
way.
time it comes back to me, I'll say it, but...
Okay, it's Batman.
Yeah.
But I have another example.
Okay. We had to get that out. We had to get the bat out of the
All right,
belfry.
episode's done.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for listening. Trope, you found what you're looking for. Until we talk tropes next.
Until next
Wait,
Batman.
Until the next bats. Goodbye. Until the sun rises.
When I thought of it, I wanted to think of a not Batman example.
Okay.
So.
But that wasn't the first thing you... Okay, but go on.
I wanted to go to a different kind of example
Okay.
of a non-powered one, and that's a non-powered superhero who uses a suit to help fight.
Okay.
And I went to from there a live-action show of Kamen Rider Agito, or Agito, or however you feel like saying it. There's a character named Kamen Rider G3
Ooh.
who works with the police and suits up into a special suit that gives him extra strength and guns and stuff like that to help take out the monsters that are attacking. So I thought it was a pretty good example of...
I think that is a really good example.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even have thought of. There's actually a few riders that might fit in there. Not many,
Mhm.
but a few.
Yeah, a lot of them are like modified and stuff like that, but there's a handful that are just guys in suits. And it was kind of cool with G3 was he was in a world with like Agito had like a magic belt to him, and Gills was like a mutant kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like the normal guy among them. And then later in the series, he gets like upgraded with it, and it was a kind of a cool example. So that's what I wanted to. That was my not Batman example.
Okay.
What's your not Batman example?
Are you talking to me or Bill, Mr. YuVideo?
Bingo. So, while Batman was there,
Yes.
my first is my favorite superhero is the Blue Beetle.
Yes.
Yes, I thought it would be the Blue Beetle.
Yep. The second Blue Beetle, Ted Cord, because he was unable to use magic, like Dan Garrett,
The first Blue
or
Beetle.
or alien technology, depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah, Ted's probably my favorite DC character, and him and Booster. Actually, the 1980s Justice League is pretty much like all my favorite people. So, but yeah, Ted's definitely my favorite. He's basically Batman, but happy.
Yeah. Does his tech like lean a certain way more than anything else? It seems to be more like not technologically based, but I guess kind of.
The things with Ted, like he has two major like gadgets or tech things, and that would be the Bug, which is his ship, which defies all like flight laws by just being a giant bug that has no wings. But and then the BB gun, which shoots compressed air and has a strobe light on it because it's supposed to make people nauseous.
Yeah, because Ted's big thing was he didn't want to hurt people. He didn't want to.
Yeah,
he had to use a gun, but he didn't want to like shoot people. So he kind of came up with that.
They like I think they said different things later. I know in Brave and the Bold it emits a sound that makes people vomit. So, but yeah, essentially the main difference is that Ted is not a detective in any way, but he's very athletic. So he was a good fighter.
That's cool. So he's more like a Dick Grayson kind of Batman, almost?
Yeah, he would be a little bit more like Dick, but he also had the mind for the technology, obviously. Cord Industries, he made pretty much all of their technology, like their big stuff anyway.
Oh, cool. I like that. Chris?
I actually will go for, because we've talked about martial arts and super suits and things like that, but I have one superhero that I feel really embraces what's the most common thing, which is the Punisher, because he just shoots people in the face.
Yep.
This is very true. The Punisher just punishes.
You really can't get more street level than Punisher.
Exactly. Like,
there's
like,
someone committing a crime. I'ma shoot him.
Yeah, like, oh, I have a high-powered rifle. That works. Why would I get, like, up close and things? You know, it's kind of like the classic thing from George Carlin about how a flamethrower is someone looked at it and went, I need a person over there to be on fire, but I'm too lazy. It's very much the same thing.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because a lot of these vigilantes also, like Blue Beetle and Batman, want to be non-lethal, pretty much. But the Punisher just... Nope, he wants to be very lethal. He is directly a lethal character. He just wants to assassinate people.
Snake off at the head.
Yep. both of those corn snakes. And to shed some light on what she thinks. A prime example. Anna Cranberry?
Mm-hmm.
What do you got? What do you think of first when I say non-powered superhero? Or
There's
non-powered person, at least.
Lot of to talk about. But one of my favorites, Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd. He is a product of his universe more than he is like superpowered or anything else.
I believe he is the law.
He is the rule. He is also pancakes and maybe Chris Moonjump.
It's true.
If you listen to our previous 2 episodes. Oh wait. Yeah, I think so. No, I don't know. I don't know.
It's in there.
Look at episode
Unfortunately speaking, my jurisdiction
episode
is
13
only
and
the
13
moon.
too.
So he can have Mega City one.
But no, Judge Dredd is a good one. Guns and motorbikes and his fists, because he has the hammers of justice also in his own way. Yeah.
Dredd's a little like Punisher, only just on the side of the law when you really think about it.
And Law is brutal in his
Not on the
future.
side of the law.
He is the law.
We reiterate that he is the law.
He's on the side of himself.
Literally the law.
He's beside himself. He's literally the law. But he is also a good example. He is more of a product of his universe, just a really tough dude in a land of crime and the apocalypse and a horrible dystopian future. No, he's good. Okay, so we've gotten a lot of examples. My example that I was going to throw out there is Link from the Legend of Zelda series. If you think,
Isn't he an elf?
He does get Din's fire.
he does get Din's fire, which is kind of magic.
Well, it's still something he obtains.
Yeah.
Everything he has is magic.
His sword is...
But if...
No, you're right.
If...
Well, no, because if you look at, he's a non-powered person that just uses magic items most of the time.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
he inherently doesn't really have
That's
much of
true.
a power.
He does not have, like, magical abilities himself, necessarily.
No.
It's an item that has magic.
He's
Some of the games he just needs an item to even jump. So.
yeah, that's true. The Rock's Feather.
Poor guy can't jump.
Dude can't jump. Poor dude ain't got jumps. He ain't got hops.
Hyruleans can't jump.
Man, Hyruleans can't jump. Hyruleans don't dance.
Who is
Interesting
telling
word.
him this?
Ganon. He is the main
The
antagonist.
Gerudo.
The Gerudo.
Just dunks
Now
on
that's
him
a racial
all day,
statement.
every day.
This is a fantasy.
You racist against Gerudos.
You have to use a Kona to jump across the bridge to get to Gerudo Valley.
I heard her talking bad about the Zoras too. I'm just saying.
Well, now you're saying he needs a blue tunic to stay underwater, and that's just ridiculous.
That's racist.
And iron boots. Wow, everything about Link is racist. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
But he is a normal guy.
He is a normal guy. Oh, so now Hyruleans are normal now. Check your
What do you
privilege.
You Hyrulean.
You Hyruleans. Hyruleans.
A sharp.
Yeah, we've gone into Def Jam Hyrulean comedy. But no, Link is just like your kind of basic character, and there's a lot of games I think where you can sort of start off and have a character who doesn't necessarily have any intrinsic abilities, but through finding certain weapons and utilizing them well enough, you can kind of make the character realize their full potential. And Link is, I think, a pretty good example, just with like a lot of the items that you get later on in the game, like the dual hook shots, like making you able to like kind of climb around a lot, the megaton hammer, like the bracers, being able to kind of like move stuff around very easily, even targeting multiple items with like the boomerang, utilizing the sword correctly. I don't know, there's just a lot of different ways to sort of utilize all of the abilities that he has, and he's just a normal freaking guy. He doesn't, he wasn't trained too formally. Well, in some games he wasn't. I don't know. There's just a lot of ways to kind of interpret him, and I think that makes him a pretty good example.
He gets murdered by chickens like everyone else.
Yeah, everyone else gets murdered by chicken, just like Mariah Carey. So...
There's
No,
so
that
many
relationship
chickens.
is reversed.
It's canon.
She murders the chickens.
I didn't
Yeah.
think Legend of Zelda would tie back into Mariah
To
Carey.
Mariah Carey being all about Nick Cannon and
I'm
chickens.
angry this happened. And in love with the
I
fact
can
that-
KFC why you'd
Oh
be
my
so
God.
angry. No!
I think we better walk off.
You're driving me cuckoo.
Anyone else? No?
Arg.
So good?
Just scream, "Erg!"
Well, what are you, Bill? Chicken.
What's the matter, McFly?
Don't be a cock, dude.
Oh, there we go.
All right, so who does it well? Let me think about this. I'm gonna start off with Chris.
Go, Chris, go.
Well,
Go,
actually, kind of thinking. All right.
What was that
Well-
noise?
He's getting ready.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of interesting to think about it in terms of both, kind of intrinsically not powered, because kind of when I was doing my research for it was all based on, people who had no magic items or anything like that. But I guess everything's kind of an amplification in one way or another if you get semantic about it. In terms of who does it well, I think in many ways, like one of my favorites for it winds up going back to one of my favorite video games, which is Half-Life.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
Because there you go, Gordon
Yep.
Freeman, who is an MIT nerd who just happens to work out enough and have a suit that makes the horrific alien death not filter into his
That's right.
system.
When was it established he works out a lot? Just the fact
Hey,
that
you
Because of
cannot-
all the crowbars that he
Because-
lifts.
Yeah. It's
Have you ever tried to whip around a crowbar? Those things are.
yeah. And
Well, actually, that's one of my favorite things, isn't it? In 2, when he's like, "How can you not stop this guy? He's a theoretical physicist."
A crowbar.
yeah, it's called Bro Gordon Freeman Lifts.
Watch
Sick
out,
games.
bro.
But yeah, it's because it's one of those, especially for him, a lot of his problems are solved with the power of science and shooting things in the face, but mostly shooting things in the face.
Sometimes with
Sometimes.
Yes.
Science is a kind of magic.
Occasionally, yeah. Oh, it's what is that statement? Any technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic.
I don't know. Just, you could kind of interchange the flavor of, like, a certain item. Like, you could scientifically explain, like, some of Zelda's, or Link's, like, items and stuff, too.
Yeah. Well, that's actually one thing that I've always my brother and I have talked about this back and forth, is how much of the Asgardians' magic is actually magic, and how much of it is mostly technology.
Yeah, it's interesting with that because in the comics they tend to go a little more, oh, these are gods or whatever, and then like in like the movie verse they essentially say no, they're aliens. They're just really, really powerful aliens.
They just had science for so long, they don't even care what it's called anymore. But no, Gordon Freeman is a great example of someone who's able to utilize a lot of stuff. And it's not, he understands all of it, too. Like, he's able to utilize it very well. Like, people respect him. He's got a certain set of knowledge that really gives him the upper hand on the situation, which is a seemingly unbeatable and just overbearing situation, too, of trying to take down the corporation that's, kind of controlling the world at the time. If we're, just talking about Half-Life 2 and not any of the other chapters, which I maybe haven't played yet, but I still have loaded up on my screen.
Shame on you, Ken. The other one that I think actually in terms of a game that actually really plays it through in the gameplay would be the most recent Tomb Raider.
Huh, Lara Croft, eh?
Yeah, because you're dealing with Lara Croft when she is green.
Oh yeah, when she's Lara Croft Year 1, pretty much.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and basically a lot of that whole it's very easy to die very quickly because you're very fragile. Plays out a great deal, and even like her lack of training is pretty evident in the game because you gradually get better at things. She doesn't start out really great at anything.
Progression in a game.
But yeah, well, and it's interesting because it imparts that sense of defenselessness on you, the player.
Yeah.
And it's got a really good game feel for that.
Oh, cool. And Bill, Mr. YuVideo?
All right, because Todd mentioned Ogredose,
Yes.
I will have to go with Kamen Rider Blade.
Okay.
Yeah. They used a system, too, that essentially armored them up.
Yeah, what they do is another world full of monsters, very common in
Okay.
Kamen Rider. So what they do is they come up with a system that can use the powers of captured monsters against the other monsters.
Sort of like a pocketed monster system.
Well, they're trapped in
Actually,
cards.
It's more akin to Cardcaptor Sakura.
All right.
They kind of absorb the powers and then can use that. So, like, you could use, like, lightning from, like, the lightning monster
right.
and stuff like that.
But how much love triangle is there? Okay.
None.
You know what? It's got my vote. I like it. Take that, Clamp.
Yeah, what it is the monsters are categorized from 2 to ace, like playing cards. So the aces are the ones that were captured and turned into, like, they put them into the card into the belt, and it's what turns them into the Kamen Riders. And then,
So
like,
card motif was really kind of a cool.
it was really well done. I think
the theming in Kamen Rider Blade was fantastic.
Yeah, so each rider has essentially a deck of blank cards, and when they beat up a monster enough, it gets weak enough to where they, like, stick the card in their chest and it just absorbs them.
Nice.
And then they can use it. So, like, I think it was like category 2 through 10s are all like powers like lightning. I think Mach Speed was one of them.
And
then,
Speed.
Mach Speed. But then you had Absorb Queen and Fusion Jack, which were the power-ups. So you would use Absorb Queen, and then you would fuse with a Jack, and then it would give them their Jack forms.
Huh.
And then Blade himself got Absorb King and Evolution King and Absorb Queen, so he got to King mode.
Cool.
I loved Kamen Rider Blade. I think that was my favorite Kamen Rider. It was Such a fun show.
I'm a big sucker for like the card motif, actually.
I am too. It gets me every time.
Mhm.
Give you some form of collectible.
And to add to the card motif, like this isn't really anything to do with powerlessness, but then the Joker shows up,
That's good.
and he's kind of he is the wild card. He's there to essentially screw up everything.
Yeah.
But through the show, you see what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
Make the game more interesting. Okay, cool. And Todd, what do you think is a good example of who does it
I
well?
think of a specific world that's filled with right up your alley because it's filled with ghosts and demons and
Devils, demons, devils, Lucifer the devil. Okay.
but there is one man who stands against it, and he is from Housewares. And his name is Ashley J. Williams. Or Ash from the Evil Dead series.
Yes.
Groovy.
Who starts off in Evil Dead 1 as just a college kid who gets put through literally hell. And by Army of Darkness, which is the third in the series, he has become the most badass normal guy ever. He's so badass that at some point he has chopped off his own hand and replaced it with a chainsaw. And in his other hand holds a boomstick, which is a sawed-off
shotgun. Yep.
that he just shoots demons and possessed people right in the face.
Hail to the king, baby.
So, like, when I thought of, like, who epitomizes, like, the non-powered but still excessively badass, it was Ash all the way. And,
I like it.
he quips so much in, like, the third movie. The Evil Dead movies, if you have not seen them, watch them. I don't know about the remake. I never actually saw the remake. But the first one is a horror movie
Made by college kids, actually. That was their like student project, wasn't it?
It was like their first real big film endeavor.
Yeah.
And a side trivia, the only reason that Ash survives the whole thing and goes on to become all the others was because Bruce Campbell had the most free time. So, like, they killed off people according to how much time they had to film, and because Bruce Campbell didn't have a life, he got to be Ash. He got to be the main character.
So let that be a lesson to you slackers out there. Anything is possible.
But the first movie is like it's a straight up horror movie. Like you will have a hard time getting through it without like flinching at some point.
Yeah.
The second one is kind of like a half horror, half comedy, and by the time Army of Darkness rolls around, it's just insane and ridiculous. But as the movies go on, Ash gets significantly more and more awesome. So definitely, if you haven't seen them, give the Evil Dead trilogy, at least the original, a watch and kind of feast your eyes on the awesome that is Ash, and you'll be quoting lines from him like we are.
Yeah.
Significantly years after you've watched the films. So but that's my example.
He's a product of his environment too. Kind of cool that the environment kind of morphs the character. I'm technically next, but I'm gonna let Anna Cranberry go for who she thinks is a good example.
You. So I've got a lot of examples that I like.
Okay.
But the one I think is most probably widely known is Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes is an excellent example.
It is extra.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows Sherlock Holmes. It's been retold over and over and over.
Yep.
It's an old story that people still love today. And I think it's just the idea that, anyone could feasibly be Sherlock if they were just intelligent and quick enough. He has no supernatural powers whatsoever. He doesn't have any technology that makes him better. Just really fucking smart and observant.
Just observation and deduction.
He also is a practitioner of an obscure martial art.
He's
that
also
is a gentleman's
Robert Downey
martial art.
Jr.
Oh,
Yes.
I forgot about the Robert Downey Jr. one. I was thinking of the
Robert
one
Downey
with
Jr.
Benedict
plays
Cumberbatch.
multiple
Benedict.
non-powered people.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Yeah.
Oh.
As Iron Man.
He's playing as one dude, pretending to be another dude. Well, acting as another
Disguised as
dude.
another dude.
But yeah, that's my particular
No,
example.
that's
But I
a
can
good
get more
example,
later.
too,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it boils down to pure old-fashioned ingenuity with him. Like he's kind of learned how to fight, and like you said, it's all revolves around his intelligence. So like he has learned to fight using martial arts and stuff like that, and he is an excellent violinist. Is that how you say it? Violist?
Yeah.
Venus.
A Viennist.
Violence.
He's also, against recommendations, a massive addict.
Yes,
This is true.
because
He's also in the 22nd.
No.
With Robo Watson?
Yes.
oh my god,
We talked about this
I
on
can't even imagine
Dystropia,
that.
of all things. So
We
I'd
did,
like to
and the future
distance-
episode too.
I'd like to distance ourselves from the 22nd.
No, I will bring it up every chance I can.
all right.
No, Sherlock's a fantastic example, actually. He rivals Batman, actually, in his detective prowess, too.
There was
Um,
an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold, by the way, where those
Yep.
two team up.
I was thinking of that, too. I was also, when we were talking about, like, magic versus science a little bit earlier, too, it was, I was thinking about the episode where he's, like, a knight. Him and Green Arrow are, like...
He's a Dark Knight.
Yeah, he is a Dark Knight. It's more of a reference than a pun, but I'm gonna just leave it there.
Oh,
I'll allow it. In the same vein as your example, Anna, I would say MacGyver.
Yes.
Yes.
oh yeah.
Yep. He
It's like America's.
American Sherlock. I'm gonna blow up America with a bunch of matches
And my mullet.
and a tube of toothpaste.
Yeah,
No,
but
seriously.
Didn't he have in like every episode? He had like a roll of duct tape and a Swiss Army knife, and that was all he needed.
Yeah, that's all he needed.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
He made like, I remember watching an episode where he was riding along in a car and he went underneath the car, unhooked the muffler, and did like a makeshift cannon pretty much out of the car as the car chase was happening. And he used just like the duct tape, a rubber band, and like a couple of things that he found in like a roadside kit, more or less. And he just like shot down like corrupt police officers that were chasing him around. It's
It's like the idea of him making like a makeshift potato gun, like
Yeah.
out of a muffler.
out of a bunch of stuff as the car is still running and going down the highway, by the way.
Of course, he
but no,
ruined the gas mileage on that.
he probably did. Like on Auto Trader, it's not going to be easy to resell that vehicle.
Check the Carfax.
No, I'm really dating myself now. But even saying like to MacGyver something, that's an actual saying. That's vernacular for like, you know, cobbling things together and using your ingenuity, observation, and knowledge of just how things work together to kind of create a new tech or get yourself out of a situation, more or less. Yeah, these are all very good examples. Some of them are products of, you know, the world around them. Some of them utilize a special tool, a suit, or, you know, something that's kind of, you know, that anyone could utilize, but that they find a way to utilize very well. Some of them just use like their own personal skills. I don't know. It seems like, you know, the power of just being able to kind of have an ability and, you know, utilize it to your full potential is what makes someone really cool. And that's why I think a lot of people like the non-powered supers, because anyone can have like a magic wand or be born under a red sun and just utilize, you know, full blown out powers to their fullest extent. But with that, let's go on to, you know, who we think does it badly, because there are characters that we love, but who, you know, really doesn't bring it all the way around, who's not necessarily utilizing it very well. I'm going to start with Anna, actually, and then I'll go the opposite way around.
For me to say, I feel like when talking about the subject, it's kind of different every every story, because
Mhm.
you know it's different if you have a non-powered person surrounded by other people with different powers, or if you're in a universe where no one has them.
Yep.
But and I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it's just not one I'm the biggest fan of. Is
Okay.
Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
And it's not for anything specific. It's just I think the character itself is kind of boring. I mean, mostly you like Conan because it's nostalgic and hilarious because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger punching a camel.
He does punch a camel.
He does punch a camel when he's drunk.
Mhm.
But as far as for me, a character like that, like they're strong and they're meant to be the hero of a story, but they don't really have a lot of character traits that make them admirable. So as opposed to Sherlock, where there's a lot of different elements to them, they're complicated. Like I prefer a character where they succeed because of something that makes them exceptional. Whereas for Conan, it's just kind of like he's real strong. He's got a sword.
What is Conan's motivation?
The D&D hero. He's the
Um,
D&D barbarian.
To crush
Yeah.
your enemies, driven before
Just
you,
to
and
murder.
I
hear
like
the
the idea of a
lamentations
Conan
of their
story where
women.
he's just like sitting on a rock, just debating why he does everything he does.
Crom.
Just like,
Look at
why?
in one hand he's like Crom, and he looks at the other, not Crom.
Please, sir, will you save our village? Crom.
Crom. Is Snake Man involved?
No.
Not sure on that.
Try again later.
Better check my Crom.
Better check my crom ball. It just is a rock that has crom carved into it. And on the other side it says try
Written on
again.
it crudely.
Misspelled.
The magic Crom ball.
Krumn.
God.
Crumn? What did you say? That's what's on the rock. No, this is Crumb. No, it's I don't know. The thing about Conan is we talked about this a little bit before. It's like for Sherlock he has a motivation, and when it's Dread he has like a motivation to better mankind. For Conan it's just survive and murder and be the fittest, most murdery person there is, I guess.
I'm not saying like the idea of Conan is bad. It's just
How is he utilized?
it's less memorable to me than others.
Mm-hmm. I understand that.
That not necessarily Conan specifically, but that like archetype, I guess.
No, I understand that too. No, I think that's justified. Bill, Mr. YuVideo?
Alright, I thought of two of them. One of them I want to say just because
Okay.
it has reminded me of it.
The drizzle.
Fucking interesting.
Just if we want to talk about somebody who's just badass because it's somebody's D&D.
The drizzle, the drow.
This drizzle.
There's
Where does the name Drizzt come from?
Forgotten Realms
no, it's
books.
from the Elder Scrolls books.
Tigtone.
It's Tig Tone.
Scrolls books.
Oh, sorry.
It's Forgotten Realms, which was a campaign in D&D, and then they R.A. Salvatore.
I've never played a Dungeon and Dragon before.
I think his the actual name is Drizzt or something. It's like DZZ.
You can't pronounce it in normal human tongue.
Dark elf names.
His name is too
Oh
bad.
my god! He is super Mary Sue. Like he's got his twin scimitars that are both
His
named,
twimitars.
Twimitars.
Which I think it's like
Oh my
Sparkling
God.
Death and
Shining Finger.
I can't remember the other one. Or it's Icy Death and like
Sparkling
something.
Water
I don't know. It's
and
bad.
Gin.
Just
But,
sorry.
I might have forgot the one that I came up with now just
I'm
because I
sorry.
hate Drizzt so much.
Sorry you don't like the Elder Scrolls games. I mean, Forgotten Realms. I mean, oh no.
Oh my god.
I become like
No! Don't you say shit about that last star. I mean, come with me up. No!
Yeah, wow. I feel stupid now that I completely blanked out what my second one was.
No, there's a drizzle. If you think about it later, let me know, because I've got a couple. And they come back to others. Todd Ogredose.
I don't have a specific example, but I think like Chris brought up the Punisher.
Yeah.
And I think just a guy with a gun is boring.
You know what's funny is actually mine was gonna be, hey Todd, how do you feel about Punisher 2099?
I've read all of Punisher 2099. There's something wrong with me. But
what it has to give?
the bodies are all on it.
Oh, okay.
But no, I think speaking of bodies on the floor, the guys get shot.
Yes,
And,
that's true.
what happens. Although Punisher 2099 had all kinds of bizarre things to murder people.
Yeah.
At some point he got a gun that could murder souls. Just to take it the extra step. It was like he'd shoot the guy with a gun, and then he'd shoot the soul, and just eradicate everything. So and he had like a whole torture chamber that just he'd fry people in. It's like putting a a cockroach in a microwave.
Look, I don't know what super murder is, but I think this is the closest definition I can come to super murdering someone.
When you get a gun that murders souls, then you're super murdering.
If you kill the body or just the soul, you murder them. If you do both in succession, yeah, it's super murder.
You're going the extra step there. It really shows his work and his dedication to murder.
With these hands.
But that's it is just the guys that shoot someone with a gun.
Yeah.
There's nothing clever about it. And I think that like Anna said with Sherlock Holmes, where it's Sherlock's using his brain, and like we've mentioned with Iron Man, he's used his intelligence to create a suit, and all the other ones have been these if they're not just fighting by themselves, they're using something, but it's something clever.
Yeah.
It's not just. At least normal Punisher, I think, had at some point a gun that could shoot knives.
I do remember that, actually.
But I think it's just just a gun. It's boring. And I think that's really an example of who does it poorly.
Well, see, that's actually sorry to butt in.
I was going to segue with you next, actually. So go on.
And that's one of the things that actually I find funny is because there are some situations where they almost discount regular humans in trying to make superheroes impressive. One example I would give of that is a show that did not have enough gun. Which was Heroes. You remember that terrible series?
I never watched
because
it.
Here's the thing.
Ironically enough.
Yeah, there's literally only one person in that entire series that can't be murdered by gun. And they all kind of needed killing after a certain point in time.
No, yeah, I can totally get behind that.
I mean, especially when you're dealing with the big bad guy who can steal people's superpowers, but, can't hear a rifle report at 700 yards. Just saying. He's the big bad, but he's still human.
When you can kind of be taken out by a very simple element.
I think, I mean, there's a lot of shows and everything that kind of fall into the general trope of almost using your human characters as Mary Sues.
Batgod?
Batgod. Yeah, Batman can also do it poorly too, I'd say sometimes.
Batman, again, like we've talked about with Batman, kind of runs the gambit
for everything.
Yeah, because it all depends on the writer, especially with Batman, where if they don't really care about Batman, or they see him as just kind of a useful character, he's kind of like the normal guy who's very helpful. But if you get a fanboy who writes him, it's
he can breathe in space.
Yeah. There was a book called what was it called? Something with God, where everyone gets their superpowers taken away. And Batman is pretty much portrayed as the best ever on Earth, because this whole time he hasn't had powers.
Yep. He's the Batgod.
I wish I could remember the name of that book. It was spoiler, not good. But it was like that, where the fanboys were just you can do no wrong. You better listen to Batman because He's the normal guy.
Batman is life.
Act of God, I believe was the name.
Okay.
Of it.
Yeah. Well, and I do think that brings up an interesting question we should talk about later of whether or not actually having superpowers can be a detriment to some of the like human faculties. You know, if that's part of what kind of makes some of your normal superheroes really that impressive is the fact that they don't have anything else, so they kind of just have to.
Like what Bill said with the street level characters, I guess, if you will, like how they kind of fare on their own when you have a man who can shoot lasers out of his eyes and kill you with like a single look. So yeah, it's playing off of your universe too, especially with that. I'd like to, with my example, I'd like to touch on something that we've brought up a couple of times, which is, you know, kind of having a sort of Mary Sue, like someone who seems like they can do no wrong. Who I think does it badly is the Kingpin from Spider-Man and from Daredevil. I personally don't find him interesting. Whenever Spider-Man goes up against the Kingpin, I just kind of say, who cares? He's just a big dude who's indestructible. He's got a ton of money. He's got a ton of connections. He's supposed to be super smart. He runs an empire. But you know what? I just don't care whenever Spider-Man is fighting him. There doesn't seem to be anything interesting about him. It's just like he's got a stranglehold. He doesn't seem to have like an unusually bad temper. He's just a mob boss, really. And it just doesn't really attract me to him. Yeah, sure, he's a leader, I guess, but there's nothing that really draws me into the conflict between Spider-Man and the Kingpin, or I guess Daredevil and the Kingpin is a little bit more interesting.
It's a lot more interesting when you compare him to Daredevil compared to Spider-Man, because it is like what Daredevil does actively is try to clean up the streets, and Kingpin is trying to muck them all up, essentially. He's trying to get his business out of them. So it's a little more interesting. And Daredevil is not nearly as superpowered as Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man go in and start punching him. You know, Spider-Man could throw cars if he wanted to.
Yep.
You know, Daredevil is essentially the way he is because he went blind. In a way, Daredevil is if not fairly close to exactly what we're talking about. With he's kind of got a little bit of superpower to him, but not particularly. He's still pretty much one of the street level guys.
Mm-hmm. They have an interesting way of like visually showing what it is that he's kind of able to see. Mm-hmm. But that's really through like training it and being hypersensitive. At least that's what I thought. Sometimes they say it's like a sort of like vibration sense almost. I don't know.
It's like a thin line with Daredevil. Like he's kind of powered, but he's kind of not powered as well. And yeah, like Kingpin is actually a fairly interesting foil to Daredevil. But yeah, when Spider-Man's involved, it's like just have him go back to, you know, punching the Green Goblin or something like that. He
just fought a man in a giant mechanical scorpion outfit. He fought a binding agent from outer space that learned about his secret fears and binded to a dude who can bench 300 pounds. Like, why do I care about this fat dude in a white suit who said my spaghetti's too cold and threw a fit?
Well,
fuck the Kingpin.
Well, that kind of like we see Spider-Man do shit like, you know, fight 4 or 5 people on once. He's just a big dude. Like, he should not be an even match for someone with even elevated strength, if not super strength.
And they don't really.
You know?
I know they do explain why Kingpin isn't vulnerable or just like a bigger dude, but
yeah, he's essentially just like he looks big and fat, but he's essentially all muscle.
Yeah, he's sort of invulnerable. It's like a Luke Cage, like his skin is unbreakable, almost sort of thing. I don't know. Yeah, it's just a more realistic, like World's Strongest Man competition sort of body. Whoa, okay, so we've gone on for a while, but I think something that we should probably talk about for who does it badly and inversely who does it well is Asami and Sokka, if only because Saker isn't here to talk about it, because we had an in-depth discussion over the weekend about it. Sokka being a good example, and Asami being unused potential in Korra, the legend of...
There's a lot of unused
Yeah.
potential in Korra, unfortunately.
That show is practically nothing but unused potential.
Yeah, I mean, I understand like rushing deadlines and stuff like that, but
No, they're just poor writers now.
having stuff like being proofed and things like that to really help out. But you know, for Sokka, he's used not only as like the tactician, as like the you know, the comedic relief, as the glue for the group, as a love interest. But he also like comes to terms with the fact that he doesn't bend. He doesn't, you know, have any special abilities, but he's utilized so well. Sokka is one of the more interesting characters in that show because he can't bend, but he's still very, very useful. And Asami, why is she still there?
Hey, she's got a shock blow.
Because she's still more interesting than Mako and Bolin at this point.
Like, God, all the love triangles, and maybe that's like my own personal sort of thing, but it just seems like, you know, she's been like burned by that group so many times. Not literally, but she's just been like shunned and double-crossed and relationship. She's just been abused emotionally, pretty much.
I feel bad for. I like Asami's character.
She's probably one of the best characters in the show.
Yeah, but like to be Asami is to suffer.
Yeah, dude, her dad tried to murder her with a robot.
The big mech suit.
And that's why she's Wolf Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
If you're unfamiliar, you need to look up Wolf Batman. It's the best joke the internet has made. Related to Avatar, anyway.
I do love some Wolf Batman. I really do.
Mm-hmm. No, I just wanted to touch on that real quick before we go on, because, you know, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a great series, and I think those characters exemplify what we're talking about. Okay, so now we are at the last segment, which is there anything that could improve the example or the trope, or is there something that you would like to see more? Bill, Mr. YuVideo.
I don't know, this is another one that I think is just so used and broad that it's hard for me personally to think of one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say the best thing to do is like kind of having that like moment if you're like having like the non-superpowered person with a bunch of superpowered people where they're kind of, and I know this is just, you know, like straight up a trope and kind of cliche, but where like they like feel helpless but they end up kind of helping like in a way that only they could. I think it's like I said, it's overused, but it's always a good moment.
Conflict drives a story, and if, you know, it's a little bit too easy for the character to kind of solve the conflict, then it's not really much of a story. It's just like, hey, there was a pothole, but I drove around it. That's not really a story. It's just, you know, something to kind of say in passing. But, you know, having a character suited for a situation, or, you know, kind of coming into being able to handle that situation is a good and useful story, too.
Also, something I think I'd like to see is somebody actually, like, I don't know if there is something out there like it, but like a role reversal for Superman and Lex Luthor. Like where, like, essentially like the alternate universe Lex Luthor, where he's the superhero. Like, it'd be interesting to see a non-superhero person with like the really super powerful villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know some non-powered heroes kind of have like their super powered, super strong one, but it'd be interesting to see a more like consistent back and forth. Because usually it's just like they'll save those stories for like the big, like it would be like Batman versus Bane or like Solomon Grundy.
Yeah, just
Or,
but
like,
they're
when
mostly brawn.
Ted got, I think, punched by Doomsday. Like that stuff just happens like once for emphasis.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see a more consistent, like this guy has no powers, but he does everything he can to stop this superpowered person.
That he can hold off a god. Yeah, that would be an interesting sort of conflict to go through, I think. I agree. And Chris Moonjump?
Well, you know, it's one of the things that you do bring up that you know, like I talked about before, that I'd like to touch on is, you know, you figure when you're just a human amongst the superpowered beings, I mean, in many ways, it can almost be a weakness, because Superman very often doesn't think outside of the framework of his own power. Like, if you realize most of Superman's stuff is not, you know, the investigation, the deduction, it's, hey, there's bad stuff here,
and that's
go
why
fight
Lex
bad
Luthor
stuff.
is such a good villain for Superman, because he is, like, Lex Luthor
Mhm.
is just a guy. He's very, very, very smart. And when you're Superman, the way to fix something most of the time is punch it really hard. But, like,
Yeah.
Lex Luthor comes up with these schemes where, like,
You can't
it's
punch
good
it.
for the Superman character because he has to put thought into it. Yeah, he can't just, like, shoot it with eye beams and be done. Like, Lex Luthor kind of works on these multiple levels that test Superman's character and just, like, his thought. Like, Superman has to put thought into these kind of things. So it's a very good way of going.
Also, his motivation as a villain is just it's more interesting too, because he wants mankind to succeed, and he thinks that Superman is like spitting in the face of what humanity can accomplish.
It's
So
got a very xenophobia
yeah,
kind of aspect to him.
so what Bill is suggesting actually is a really cool take on that. I really dig that as an inverse of the trope.
Yeah, well, and the one thing that I think would be interesting to kind of mentally plot out is how do you get, how would you necessarily have an average person effectively gear themselves to be able to do something like, fight an apocalypse or something like that, where they're not just a street level hero. And I think it's something that really hasn't been explored, is when things get big like that, exactly how do you comprehend or deal with it? And I think one of the big things, like we said, keeping away from the Mary Sues, especially in that situation, is difficult. But the other part of it that I think is important is that you don't want to make your human character unrelatable to humans. And that kind of falls into the very Mary Sue-ish thing, is that if it doesn't feel like they're actually human, then they're never really going to be a relatable character. Because if you keep telling people that, oh yeah, he's just your average person, he's just he's super athletic or super smart, but he's unnaturally so, people are going to think you're kind of pulling the juke on him.
And that's because when you were talking about that, Chris, it's like Iron Man, Tony Stark. It's like, I'm just your natural playboy philanthropist billionaire. I was thinking, he's not relatable, Tony Stark being in like the 1% and doing that. But then you think about like his vices and his hubris and like how charismatic he is, but how he like kind of falls from time to time. And I think he becomes more relatable.
Yeah, it's because he may be in the top tier of humans, but we can envision someone like him who is human.
Okay. Okay, so Todd, how do you think that the character could be, or sorry, that the trope could be improved, or is there something that you'd like to see a little bit more?
One of the things I give Korra a lot of credit actually for, before they kind of ruined it, was the non-benders in the first arc. You had people who couldn't bend but were excessively dangerous to benders.
Yes.
And that's kind of an interesting take. It's almost like the reverse of what Bill was saying, of where it's a normal guy going up against like the impossible. Where here you have like your hero character is powered, but they have an immense threat that is not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the way. Like, I'd like to see a little bit more of that, kind of like, and it's a little bit of like army building kind of thing, where like the normal people kind of go with like larger
Yeah,
numbers
they
and stuff
really
like
need the
that.
numbers to kind of
Yeah.
put up a fight.
Because it's an
But,
army, and because they don't want to necessarily harm these people too, that it ups the stakes a lot.
Exactly, and there's a lot of that aspect in that, and it's just something I'd like to see a little bit more of. The normal people are a major threat to like a superpowered being.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I'd like to see a little bit more, and I think it'd be cool to be
Yeah, and that is one thing I guess we didn't really talk about throughout the episode was, stealth characters in that is, subversion and kind of subterfuge and stealth and things like that are something that can be practiced by pretty much everyone.
Like Black Panther.
Yep.
Who isn't super powered at all, but is a huge threat. And Moon Knight is very similar to that as well. Moon Knight's a little more crazy.
Moon Knight is kind of the inverse of that, actually, because he's in all white. And I had a conversation with a coworker earlier today, which was, hey, don't you want to be painted black so they don't see you coming? And he's like, no, I want them to see me coming. I want them to know what I'm going to bring down.
Moon Knight works on pure unadulterated terror.
Yep.
The dude is just kind of crazy.
Crazy in terror.
Well,
he is one of your knights, too. That's canon.
Exactly.
Makes perfect sense
canon.
now.
And to end up this bucket of chicken, Anna.
Oh my god.
Is there something that you could think improves the trope, or anything that you'd like to see more for non-powered peoples?
I think one of the essences of this type of character is like the David and Goliath situation.
Okay.
Where you have a normal person pitted against something that is impossible to overcome.
Yeah, seemingly.
Seemingly impossible to overcome. So the hero of the story or whatever needs to use their own ingenuity and skill to find a way around it.
Yes.
So, sorry.
A little side note with the David and Goliath comparison. I recently read The Secret Wars, the big Marvel event, and in it, Doctor Doom. There's a comparison of him with David and Goliath, and I think to Galactus or the Beyond or something insanely powerful. And Doom's reply is, "Yes, I am like David. David also had a sling and knew how to exploit his enemy's weakness." I was like, that's a pretty awesome line. And it just, you maybe just kind of think of that line specifically. Because Doom's a little kind of weirdly powered, but he started off as a normal guy.
Just like most heroes.
Just like I was you once.
Same could be said of all men.
What's that from, Bill? Master Wife.
As far as David and Goliath, one made me think of it is Wander from Shadow of the Colossus.
Okay, yeah, Shadow of the Colossus.
Normal dude who has crazy motivation and very limited skill that he uses to do everything he has to. And just because I want to mention him, because I had a huge list of ones I like. As far as an entire series that's based on that, Attack on Titan. It's pretty much an entire cast of normal people faced against this horrible, horrible challenge of monsters everywhere.
Seemingly super powered.
I know. That is one of the few shows that in a while has just kind of made me have that hopeless feeling after watching, I think it was episode 5. You're just kind of like, oh, they're just all gonna die.
It's really good though.
Yeah, and I think that does bring up something with it, is that realizing that if you are going to mix kind of power levels in your universe, realize that being on the smaller side sometimes means that you will win. It's just at how much of a cost. Would you want your parents to see you like this?
I could still see my parents.
Why doesn't he just shoot them?
Because money.
Yeah, fair enough.
Other ones I wanted to mention.
Yes.
Because I really, really like non-powered heroes.
Okay.
I wanted to mention Corbin Dallas from The Fifth Element.
Alright. Zorg is super powered?
No.
Oh,
almost completely uninvolved. He saves the universe from an unstoppable evil.
Ruby Rod is unstoppable.
The Fifth Element's the superpower.
Okay.
In that story.
Super
Lulu
Green's a
Dallas.
superpower. Yeah.
Multipass.
Multipass.
Multipass with superpower.
There's aliens and all kinds of crazy stuff. As far as Corbin, he's just a guy.
Jace.
And then I wanted to mention Han Solo.
Han
Just
Solo,
because he is a dude surrounded by
space wizards.
aliens and space wizards and all kinds of crazy stuff, and he still gets by.
See, he's a guy who has a gun and
He's
doesn't
street
run.
smart. That is his skill. Like,
He plays off of the
sorry to bring up
universe.
just a guy with a gun.
But Todd says he does it right.
He has a
He's-
vest.
It's a good example. Because he is a guy who has to use like his wits and all that. It's not just shooting criminals on the street. He that's all he's got to work with. So I think it's a very good example. Actually.
So having a character who is in a universe where odds are mounted against him, but he's able to sort of utilize it very well, and it's not just
A lot like
a
Sokka.
lot like Sokka. Being able to utilize all of his talents and abilities, because Han isn't only good with a gun, he's a smuggler, and he knows a lot of people who can help him out, and he has a lot of assets that can help him too.
He also snarks very.
He is a very good snark man.
Seems to be a good trait of a non-powered person in a powered universe.
Just to
A good level of snark to him.
beat down everyone with how sarcastic you are.
Yes.
I dig it. Okay. I guess my 2 cents on it is more vague, obviously, but it's when we're thinking about having a non-super in a world of supers, or if you want to just go the route of Kick-Ass and have it be all non-supers, it's really a play off of the other characters in the world around them. What is your character's expertise, and what sort of helps you with working against other characters? Kick-Ass learned through experience, like failing multiple times and some tragic accidents. And other people just sort of joined in the fray.
Actually, the interesting thing about Kick-Ass 2 is he has like the closest thing to you can have like a real life superpower. Is like the plate in his head makes it so he doesn't really feel pain until it gets like super severe.
And having like just metal splints in his body too, and like just a dulled sense to pain pretty much. So you can punch him, but he won't feel it as much as like someone else might. Yeah, he'll still be injured, but it won't hurt him as much. No, just playing off of the world and the characters around, like Han Solo in a world of supers, he's able to handle himself very well. Or if you just have a character who's really good with technology, put him in a world that's maybe not so tech savvy, have him like kind of work through it, or have him in a tech world and have him be able to use everything to his advantage. Also, we didn't talk about this, but have them play against characters that complement them or challenge them, because when it's like Batman and Green Arrow next to each other, it's sort of overkill on the expertise level. It's like, you've already got Batman there, dude. You don't need Green Arrow to kind of help out with the money or the shooty arrows. Really play against your characters and really think about what you're going up against too, because when it's Batman and Green Arrow against the Clock King, was there any question? I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, the real question, besides any other opinions or comments, I guess. All right, the real question is, what is next week's prompt? And that is a setting, and that is going to be labyrinths, suggested by Chase.
Yeah.
What kind of magic spell to use?
Can we just get this out of the way now?
What is someone reminding you of something?
Dogtails.
Okay.
No, I just feel like the episode's gonna get panned.
I get it.
There you go.
I was just talking about that movie the other night.
Oh, you mean Labyrinth? Oh, okay.
No, Pan's Labyrinth.
Specifically, the Labyrinth of Pan.
Not from Dragon Ball Z.
That's for another time.
Another time. Okay, so with that,
Prepare all your puns for next week.
prepare all of your pans for next week.
Damn it. We're
Just-
gonna make a killer stir fry. It's not
GT,
even
good
a
times.
No.
Okay, so let's pause. God damn it. It is. We'll start the sign off with Anna, and then go up, and then wrap around. So, thank you all for listening.
I I'm not superpowered. Good night.
And goodbye from Chris Moonjump.
You're on the moon.
I am superpowered.
Cranberry Kingdom.
My moon logic is higher than your earth logic.
See you guys later.
From beyond the void, fixing time. And goodbye from Todd. Ogredose.
Thanks for not chickening out on us.
And like a cannon full of extra crispy goodness. This is Ken, aka Pumpkin, signing off. Until we talk geek next week. Bye-bye.